Hey everybody, it's Brandi coming to you live from Get to College, and today's live is all about the FAFSA and whose information you use when you're completing that application. I will tell you, this is probably the most asked question that we get at Get to College, so we're going to take care of that today. But let me do some groundwork and tell you, this live is all about dependent students. So if you are questioning whether you are a dependent or independent student, it's important that you reference my colleague Kirsten's video on our feed. She covered that last week during live. So today we're simply talking about dependent students and whose information do you use when you're completing the FAFSA. We know at Get to College that families are complicated, and I really want to simplify that for you today. I want you to remember 3 major points. While we're going through this discussion, I will cover 3 things that are very important when you're considering who to use when you file the FAFSA. Now, let's talk about the first major point. When you're completing the FAFSA as a student, you need to only include a biological or adoptive parent. Never, ever, ever would you file the FAFSA with a grandmother, an aunt, an older sister. Always biological or adoptive parent, okay? First thing to remember when you're considering whose information that you use. The next big major point I want you to remember is who lives under the roof with you. So let's talk about that. That can be different in a lot of family situations. So if your parents are married and they live under the same roof with you, it's obvious. You would list your parents, mom and dad. Now, let's say that your parents are unmarried, but they live under the same roof with you. You would still list mom and dad. Regardless of whether they are divorced or separated, if they live under the same roof with you and they are your biological or adoptive parents, both of their information needs to be listed on the FAFSA. Okay, keep that in mind. Who lives under the roof? Now, when you're thinking about parents who don't live with you, let's talk about that. So your parents could be unmarried, divorced, or separated. And one parent may live outside of the home from you. Let's talk about that. You first pick the biological or adoptive parent that you live with the most. If you live with your mom most of the time, then you use the parent that you live under the roof with, mom. If mom has remarried, you also use mom and her spouse. They live under the roof with you, okay? Now, let's say that your parents are separated, divorced, or unmarried. Both of them do not live under the same roof with you, but you live with both mom and dad equal amounts during the year. 2 weeks and 2 weeks with each parent. 1 month and 1 month with each parent, 6 months and 6 months. There's lots of different custody arrangements. But let's say you genuinely live 50% of the time with your mom and then separately 50% of the time with your dad. Then you choose the parent that provides the most support for you. Once you choose that parent that provides the most support for you, then you include who lives under that parent's roof. And if that parent has remarried, you include their spouse. Okay? Remember, who lives under the roof. The next and final big point I want to make today is it never, ever matters who claims you on the taxes. We hear that a lot. You do not determine who is listed on the FAFSA with you based on the tax return and who claims you. It is all determined by, first, your biological or adoptive parent. Second, who lives under the roof with you. Who do you spend more than 50% of the time with and their spouse, or who provides the most financial support for you and their spouse. Now, I'll say again, the FAFSA can be complicated, and we know that family situations are very different. That's why on this video, we're gonna post it on our feed, and we're gonna put links for you to view walkthroughs of the FAFSA. You'll be able to view, how do I complete the FAFSA? And it'll give you a ton of information. It'll allow you to, most importantly, complete the FAFSA correctly the first time. At Get to College, we're always here to help you. Be sure to call us, comment, however we can help you. Be sure to let us know, and check our feed as well as our videos, because first you have to FAFSA to get the most financial aid to go to college. I'm Brandi Lindell for Get to College Live. Thanks so much for joining me.